I want to talk about how I think as a culture we tend to idealize people that are kind of at the top of their hierarchies in the sport they play or the field that they're in. Like we really tend to think that people have the perfect lives, and I want to ask you if there's with such a prestigious resume, have you ever had a time where you felt lost or you've been told you can't do something or anything along those lines where you're kind of at a lower level and you have to find your path again?
Yeah, that's a great question, deep question. Yeah, I think there's just such a common, it's one of the tough things with the new age, social media and everything is like the perception of people seems so great. Um, like all the Instagram photos and the videos, like everyone just sees the positives because why would you you want to brand yourself and post like good things, you want good content.
Hmm.
Um, but I think everyone's got stuff going on and dealing with things. So I would say this year has just been it's been an amazing year, like so many great opportunities and so many cool blessings. But it was a tough year for sure too, like just mentally. Um, um, like back like the way the season ended in 2020 and just kind of the uncertainty of the world really in the summer, and then like being married and like having feeling that responsibility as a husband now, um, and then switching gears and playing volleyball as a job, not just it was technically a job at school, but like actually playing for money and having a little bit more pressure with that and wanting to do well in that and being in a good league. I think there was just a lot of different like new stressors in life. So there's for sure some times where I would come back after practice and I would just be like just so frustrated or like feel terrible. Like I know what I need to do to be a better player, but I'm not doing it. And I found myself kind of molding everything together. And um, I'd be at home and I would be thinking like, oh man, I got to be better, do this better at volleyball. But then I'd be at volleyball and I'd be like, oh man, I just want to be at home and like being a good husband and hanging out with Sam. So just figuring out how to separate the two, I think was big, and kind of have like, okay, volleyball is volleyball. I'm going to sure do what I need to do at home, like stretch a bit and watch some video. But if I'm not doing that, I'm like not thinking about it. And then but when I'm there, I'm gonna be like fully dialed in. I'm gonna like get my stretches in, get my warm up in, and journal there and stuff. So I would say just for me, that was a tough part of the year. Was just learning how to separate the two,
Hmm.
um, and really that was my one of my biggest lessons I think in the beginning of this season at least. Um, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah. How do you think that you created that boundary? Because so often I think that people become so infatuated with a particular part of their life that becomes like the entire pillar of their life rather than having like a pillar of family and a pillar of work and athletics and whatever presence you want, but you're basically building this house and you have these foundations. And so I do think that a lot of people tend to over overbuild one pillar, and then once that pillar crashes, then the rest of their house crashes. But how did you find a way to start to break those up and say, okay, this is volleyball, this I'm not going to be a fanatic all the time about volleyball, and
Mhm.
like when I go home I'm going to be with Sam and I'm going to be like Eric, not volleyball Eric. I'm going to be
Yeah.
family Eric rather than always
Mhm.
being in that mode. What were some tools that you used to find that space?
Yeah, I think just a lot of truth to what you said there with the foundations, um, and like identity and stuff. And I think it was just kind of coming to grasp that I'm not like this is a big change for me. Like I'm not gonna be the best at volleyball. Like I'm not gonna I can't pull my worth from how I'm doing on the court. Like I can pour what I have into it, but I can't like pull my happiness from that. And back to what we talked about earlier with kind of just like stepping away from everything and like working on more of my spiritual foundation too. Like having like my spiritual foundation as a pillar, I think really helped my like career pillar and my family pillar um, just kind of grow and not almost like keep those down and not let those take over one another, and really keep everything in balance. Um, I think, yeah, just like, and then like communicating that with Sam too, because like we're now living together overseas. It's just us over here. It's a lot of time together. So I think that was like figuring out like, okay, like when I get up, like I need like an hour to do my own thing. And then we'll like have breakfast and play crib or something.
Hmm.
And she's like, okay, cool. Because it was kind of working out to be like, we'd hang out together all the time. And then I'd be at practice and she would get kind of some alone time. But then I'd come back and then we'd hang out. And I was like really not getting any time just for my own thoughts and like kind of stepping away from everything. So just like communicating through that was, I think, really big. And like you said, like making sure that like other areas of my life are being planted versus just focusing it all on one, because if if you focus it all on one, then it all just kind of can come crashing down. So
Hmm.
yeah, those are some strategies we use.